It's been a very, very tough few days in the markets. We've seen the Bitcoin price take a massive hit and nothing bigger than Luna and UST over the past few days. In today's show, we're going to be going through what our plan is going forward, the main takeaways that we've learnt from the events of the last few days, and really work out what we can do to grow as traders and investors to come out the other side ahead. It's been a tough few days, but we can come out of this situation even stronger than ever. Sounds tricky. Welcome to the show.
Hey everyone. Hey Miles, how are ya? Thanks for having me back. It's been a bit rough out there. Hopefully we can go through some stuff today and have a look at a few things and try and figure out some plans of action for the future.
Yeah, look, it has been rough. And obviously the major factor that's impacting the market right now, impacting altcoin sentiment, is the massive dip that we saw from Luna. Never in my life have I seen this. Never have I seen, and no trader has ever seen, a $40 billion market cap be wiped out in basically a couple of days. It's at less than a cent at the moment, which is pretty inconceivable. But it just goes to show how fragile this market can be sometimes. And it goes to show that even what we think is the best technology may not end up being the best tech. And it was a rough couple of days.
Yeah, you hear these stories, you hear about them, but very few people have lived through them and felt them and experienced them and felt the pain of them. I mean, there's been plenty of stories and you've heard all the crypto, crypto can go to zero and rah, and you can get rugged and all this kind of thing. But like an actual situation like this is just, it's completely unprecedented.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason the Luna price dropped, as we know, I'm not going to go too far into this because I've been covering it all throughout the week. And I covered it in yesterday's show. But just as a quick summary, the Luna price dropped because UST lost peg, and it lost peg in quite a bad way. It's at 45 cents now. This is basically on its way to zero at the moment, unless something absolutely drastic happens. And basically, there was a mass amount of shorts coming to the market. UST was dumped onto the market, draining the curve pool. So there was no liquidity. Shorters came in. There wasn't enough buy pressure. And no matter how much Bitcoin LFG had, it wasn't enough to prop up this market. And we saw the cascading effect of UST, the liquidation cascade that came off the back of it. And that resulted in a major Luna dump. And if we look at what they're trying to do right now, what they're doing is they're diluting the Luna supply at the moment in order to underpin the UST peg. So their priority right now, the Terra Foundation, is to get UST back to peg. They're basically willing to sacrifice Luna in the short term to get UST back to peg, but it isn't really working. And what they're doing, as we can see, is emitting Luna tokens onto the market. 40 billion tokens emitted onto the market. That is an absolute crazy amount. It's like almost mind-boggling.
It's a spiral. And I think that's what kind of, what you forget is for them to burn one UST at a value of $1, they need to print $1 worth of Luna. And this is where the spiral gets out of control, because as the price of Luna drops, the quantity of the print increases. So if you think for every $1, they need to print 100 Luna if Luna gets to 1 cent. So that's why it's exponentially growing so quickly as the price is dropping. And that's why they call it a death spiral.
It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I guess it's always a possibility that it could happen. I think a lot of us, myself included, underestimated the likelihood of a DPEG event to this extent.
Totally. Everyone did. Everyone did.
It was a black swan event. There's no way we can get around it. And
crazy.
I personally lost a lot of money over the last few days. I know Rand did as well. I know you did as well.
Yep, I've lost as well. Everyone has. And I held out belief as well for quite a while that they'd be able to pull it back in. I think a lot of us did. And that was the kind of, the people who believe in the tech and who believe in what it is and what they were trying to achieve. We wanted to hold on to the fact that they'd be able to save it because they're super smart dudes. And it was, I don't think this is what they wanted or it's not what they wanted. So, we held out hoping they'd be able to do it. And unfortunately, we're on the bad end of that stick now.
Yeah, and KSI was also on the bad end of the stick. This just puts it into perspective just how massive this correction was. I mean, he had $2.9 million in with 80,000 Luna. He bought the dip, and now this is the worst part.
Oh my God.
Now he has $1,000 in with 157,000. Like, guys, imagine if someone told you 3 months ago you could get 157,000 Luna for $1,000. I wouldn't believe you. I'd call you crazy. But it actually happened. It's
the other thing is like I've seen a lot of messages as well, and I think a lot of people talking about maybe picking up Luna at a bargain at this point. I think maybe it was a bit of a tactic when there was a possibility that they were going to save themselves, but right now I'm staying away to see where it ends, basically.
I'm completely steering clear of Luna. I think Luna in its current form is dead. I think that it was a technological failure. I don't think the tech was ready to handle the mass amount of the market cap that UST grew to. It simply wasn't ready. And that is just a reflection of just how young we are as an industry, how early we are in crypto. The technology of algorithmic stablecoins continues to be an issue. And to this date, we really haven't had one that's proven itself over a long period of time. I thought USD would be that one, but it wasn't.
I think people have to understand as well is, sadly, with the nature of everything that this is and where we're at in the market and where we're at in the industry, is people try to attack this stuff. This is, like, there are people out there right now in groups, smart people trying to figure out ways to break this technology on purpose. And when you get something like UST, they would have planned, this would have been planned for a long time. And a lot of smart people would have been trying to figure out how to do it. And that's part of what this technology is faced with at the moment. And moving forward, it's going to constantly be facing it, because there are always going to be bad people out there who want to attack this kind of stuff and bring everyone else down, which is really, really sad.
I agree. It is sad, but we're not going anywhere as creators. We're going to be here every single day to help you guys through this. And I've been here for you guys on the live shows, and then I've also been going live on Instagram basically every day to give you guys updates as the market comes. In fact, I said I'd be following 10 people that followed me back on Instagram. So here you guys go. I'm going to follow 10 people back. If you guys want to follow back, I'm accidentally clicking on an account here. Go follow my Instagram, link in the description. As I said, I live stream all the time because sometimes things in this market happen so quick. I like to come on, help you guys through the Q&A. So yeah, go and follow my Instagram, link in the description, and I might give you a follow back as well. But let's get into some of the learnings. Let's get into the juicy stuff of this video, what we can do going forward, what we learned from this whole situation, and where we are positioning ourselves right now. This is a big conversation that I think we need to have. And it's, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be raw, I'm going to be open, give you guys my exact thoughts, because everyone needs to ante up. Now is the time.
Just with that as well, I think, we've all, everyone gets told, everyone believes they've got that they're on the right idea or path with the whole concept of how you're going to do things, but we also all get carried away, and we're all in the same boat together. So, no one, unless you are not invested in Luna at all, for whatever reason you had, no one has got out of this unscathed.
No.
And even anyone in the crypto market, to be honest, because of basically everything that's happened, it's just brought everything down with it.
It's had knock-on effects, and we'll talk about this in a second, but it's had ramifications across the trust in the entire market. This is bigger than Luna. This is bigger than UST. This is a fundamental trust issue, a regulation issue to do with crypto as a whole. So let's talk about that. Firstly, if you want to know exactly what happened, and you want to recap on what happened, I've got a thread on my account, but also Pedro. Pedro O, he does a lot of content. I'm actually going to follow him now. He does some great content, and he did a thread on what happened with Luna. But I'm now more interested in what we can do now than talking about Luna over and over and over again. So let's get into that. And the DeFi Edge kind of gave me the idea for this show, kind of gave me the framework for a few major points that I think we need to touch on. And a few points, a few learnings that we can take out of this and come out stronger. Because, look, I lost money. I know you guys have lost money. But the only way we can make those losses worth it is to learn from them and come out the other side stronger, or else it was all for nothing. And that is exactly what I plan to do. Be here every single day, not only to help you guys, but also to provide valuable content, provide education that can get us out the other side even stronger than ever. And that starts today, and that starts with these major lessons. Yeah.
I think as well for everyone, it's important to understand that we're just the same as everyone else. You and I, like, we've been talking over the last 2 days while this has all been happening in the background, and, we've been supporting each other because it's hit us both pretty hard, and it's always important to have someone to talk to. But we've been in the background figuring out what we did wrong with our strategy and how we can rectify that moving forward. And that's, you need that, right? You've got to take a lesson from this, or else what was the point?
You need days like this in order to become a better investor.
Yeah.
You need to become a better person, a better trader. And I firmly believe that there is going to be a very large good that comes out of this situation. And I think there's a lot of good to take from it. So let's go through some of the major lessons and what we can do in the future to to really better ourselves in this market. The first point that the DeFi Edge makes, and I talked about this in the show yesterday, is to avoid the cult of personalities, the leaders that become popular through charisma, but also sometimes fall to the narcissism and the egomania that this industry can create. We saw it with Andre Cronje. We saw it with Daniela Sesta. We saw it with Kwon. Kwon was coming out and saying some pretty stupid stuff, being very egotistical.
It's human. I think we kind of spoke about this the other day as well, right? When I was on the show with you, when this was all starting to unfold, is sadly, it's, this kind of putting people on a pedestal. It's human nature. And, it's part of us looking to a leader to help guide us. And it's just the way we are, right? We want someone to follow. We want someone who's going to lead us to the promised land per se, and help us gain whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. And as important as this is on one hand, it can also be a downfall on the other. So it's very much a yin and a yang kind of scenario where we need these leaders to follow and to help lead us. But at the same time, we can't idolize them too much, because ultimately ego takes over for everybody and no one gets off from this.
Exactly. And I mean, this is just putting the ego right in front of everyone's eyes right now. This guy literally in November tried to come out and say how the events that just unfolded could unfold with a massive short event. And he called this the most thread I've read in a decade. Billionaires in my following, go ahead, see what happens. I mean, this guy, I mean, he fell victim to the, I wouldn't call him a victim, but he kind of got sucked into the market, the hype, as you probably would in this position. But it also becomes a dangerous thing when people start following these leaders.
It's Murphy's law. It's Murphy's law. It's textbook Murphy's law. You say it and it happens, and that's just the way it kind of played out for him, unfortunately.
Here's one of the major points the DeFi Edge makes, and this is that there's no room for healthy debates in crypto. This is the major problem. We kind of operate in this echo chamber on social media. And as you said earlier, like we operate in an echo chamber for multiple things that aren't just crypto, because that's kind of the way human psychology works. But it creates a bit of an issue because we saw people genuinely trying to warn about UST, and people genuinely, like Jack Newald, Allgod, like these guys that came out and spoke out against it, they got rinsed. Like the community chewed them up, spat them out. Like basically they got wrecked online, flooded with hate. All they were trying to do was raise valid points.
And warn people.
This insane bullishness just leaves room for disaster, because you're almost not allowed to be bearish in a bullish market. And it's a reflection of the algorithm rewarding bullishness in a bullish market. And it's a reflection of the algorithm rewarding bearishness in a bearish market. And it almost makes
it also, as I think it goes, this point specifically goes bigger than crypto as well, because sadly we're in this social media environment these days, and everyone gets stuck in their own echo chamber, and you start seeing everything that you want to see because that's what you're feeding. And these algorithms are conquering and dividing us between each other. And I mean, look, this is a perfect example was what happened with you and Phantom. I remember you posted, I mean, you kind of came up backing the Phantom community, and that's kind of where you started off with your following and whatnot. And then as soon as you mentioned something about, I think it had something to do with maybe it's time to get rid of the Halloween theme and move into a more kind of professional, which is a professional overview, which is a fair point. The whole community just attacked you straight away. It was really bad, I thought. And that's the perfect example. You didn't mean anything bad by that. You weren't trying to attack anyone. You were just offering a suggestion, and people were so caught up in their own space and in their own little echo chamber, like we said, of social media, that they take it as an insult. They take it as a personal insult. And so then they go on the defensive and they attack. And that's not the way forward for anyone.
It's like I'm not even allowed to say anything negative about the market in case I get attacked. And this is a huge problem. Like, for example, with the Phantom thing, look, maybe I could have worded it a little more eloquently, but the underlying point was all I was trying to do was help improve the network. And, I had other thoughts about Phantom as well, negative thoughts, which I actually didn't tweet about in fear for being bombarded online. And that's a problem, because we have to be able to speak without bias in the industry. If I have a problem with Luna, I should be able to come out and say, this is the problem I have, without being completely bombarded online. That is the problem. There's no room for healthy debates in crypto. And look, it's something I'm going to change as a creator now. I don't give a stuff anymore. I'll just be completely honest. I'm going to speak my mind, bullish or bearish, try and be a lot less biased than maybe I previously was, because we need to change the culture in crypto. There's too much cancel
It's
culture
not-
when things happen. It's
Yeah, it's not black or white. It's just not. There's no topic out there that's black or white. And healthy debate is what would have saved us all at this point, to be honest. If we had have been openly out there speaking about all this, and me being a Luna lover as well, I'm just as guilty as everyone else of going, yeah, cool. I had X amount of Luna in my long-term hold, which I'd planned to hold my entire life. Right. That was my headspace, was I'm never selling this portion of my Luna for as long as I live, because it's going to be something to support me for the rest of my life. But
and I think that was a mistake. And that was a mistake a lot of people made. It was like at the top going, no, I'm holding this forever. I don't care if it goes to zero, blah, blah, blah. That's when you really got to take profits. And also you guys would remember, this goes back to the last point, Rand made a video at the top of Luna saying, I am taking profits on Luna. Admittedly, he didn't take enough. He only took, I think, 10 to 20%. But still, he said he was taking profits. The video is literally called, I'm selling Luna. You should have seen the comments on that video and that tweet. I remember it as clear as day. Everyone was going, how can you FUD Luna? You're selling Luna. Like, how stupid are you? You guys were attacking him for saying I'm selling Luna when all he was doing was taking profits at the top. Yep. And then there's the same people when the market's dropping that complain about
and say, you shilled me, Luna.
You should have told us to take profit.
Tell them, no. Yeah.
Well, when we take profits at the top, we get rinsed. So no wonder he's like, look, always take profits. That's at the end of the day, that is the moral of the story. And even if you think you want to hold it forever, you can hold a coin forever by all means if you believe in it, but still take a percentage off the table, whether that's 40, 50, 60, 70%, whatever you're comfortable with.
Your initial investment, that's always a smart one.
Yeah.
Your initial investment, just grab that, right? As soon as you've got your money out, as soon as you've doubled your money in something, then take it out. Then there's no risk anymore. There's no risk. And, you know, that's probably the only thing I did right with Luna. But in saying that, I rode it all the way up and then rode it all the way back down.
And that's all. It also goes back to risk management. Like, never go all in on one protocol. Like Luna, Anchor, like, only have, I would say, 20% in one stablecoin, maybe 30% if it's like a BUSD or a USDC, which is actually fiat backed. But the fact people were all in on Anchor, despite the 20% yield, I mean, that's worrying. There was even a point where I was thinking, oh, why am I keeping this much in a bank account when I could go to Anchor and earn this much a year? But at the end of the day, it's just DPEG risk, smart contract risk are real things. So, you know,
I run a business outside of all this stuff, and I was thinking about putting more of the business tax money into Anchor so that I can earn 20% yield on the tax account money that's sitting in my business account until it's time to pay tax. Like, imagine if I had done that, I would have been crushed.
This is an interesting discussion. Now, we talk about holding blue chips. We talk about accumulating blue chips. We talk about accumulating the best tokens, holding them for the long term. And that strategy has clearly worked over time. But I think where people go wrong is their definition of a blue chip. And the DeFi Edge said, I consider Luna and AVAX to be blue chips. And he said, I was wrong. His thesis now for what constitutes a blue chip is a coin surviving 2 cycles and be on the uptrend, and then it becomes a blue chip. And he said the only blue chips, genuine blue chips he's convinced will be around are Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. Yep. And then I went onto the snapshot of 2018. Yep. And I looked at
we had this conversation before.
Yeah, we had this conversation earlier. And
it's remarkable when you think about it. I mean, if you grab the top 20 as well from now and look at the top 10 from then, there's probably 4 or 5 things that are floating around still within that same space. And they could have been shilled. They are not shilled. Sorry. They could have been attacked. Like, for instance, okay, let's take the one that everyone loves to hate. You either love it or you hate it. It's XRP, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, XRP
number 2
XRP
from what
was
year
around
was this?
then, and it's still around. It was number 2.
Well, it was number 2, and it's number 6.
Yeah.
So outside of Ethereum and Bitcoin, is that the next best token as far as longevity is concerned?
I mean, look, this is only one cycle. This is 2018. So look, maybe we need to go back to 2013 to get 2 full cycles worth of proof. But if we do go back to 2013, you'll see it's Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're the 2 ones.
They're the only 2, surely.
They're the only 2 that have been around. So what does this tell us? This tells us, A, you have to have a large percentage, if not the majority percentage of your portfolio in Bitcoin and Ethereum, because those are the only assets realistically we can trust long-term. Now, that's not saying I don't like other projects long-term, because I do. I love them. But at the same time, you have to have the risk management to make sure that you're not getting wrecked with a percentage that's over allocated in some of these altcoins.
Yeah.
I was over allocated. You were over allocated.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the space were over allocated. But this is a nice reminder that going forward, we need to be a lot more pragmatic with our percentage weightings. And
I mean,
Bitcoin
I was
and
always,
Ethereum,
I was always in that same camp as well. You know, Bitcoin first, then Ethereum, and then something else. And my Luna bag became more than my Ethereum bag, and that's when the red flag should have gone off, right? Because that at that point, I'd invested more into Ethereum than I had into Luna, but the Luna had gone up so much that it had now dwarfed my Ethereum bag. So at that point, I really should have been going, holy shit, let's not slap a gift horse in the mouth here. Let's get what we can while we can.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's one of the things, you know, people and myself included were kind of holding onto it forever. Or in the sense that when it was going down, it'll come back, it'll come back, it'll come back. But maybe there's a point where we look at charts and someone like a Sheldon that would have had to take profit would have exited a large amount of his position. And that's the downside with this buy and hold mentality.
Yeah, and I think this is this other weird thing that we've kind of got that I've been really juggling with over the last 2 days is for some reason, I don't understand what it is, but we turn these tokens into these kind of possessions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you start to think of it more as something that's yours and that belongs to you, as opposed to a means to an end. And the means to that end is financial freedom. And so then how do you attain that? You attain that by taking profits, securing wealth. And you're not secured anything, obviously, if you ride it all the way up and all the way back down.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm seeing some people say so easy to say now. Of course it's easy to say.
It's easy. Totally. We're in the same boat. We're in exactly the same boat. But
if you don't, the way to succeed in this market is by taking these things in your stride. Like the people that made millions and millions in 2021 were the ones that were buying during the bear that learnt their lesson, that got smacked in 2017 and wrote a rule book. And they said, I will never do this again.
That's it.
We're helping you guys create the rule book now.
We're creating a new rule book for ourselves at the same time. Like that's the other thing as well. And it's easy to say this in hindsight. We've all got 2020 vision now. We're all super smart now. We've seen what happens, but also we've all been slapped in the face because of what's happened. So
take this as a learning experience.
This is it.
Any amount you lost, that's the cost of tuition to play this game. And if you're willing to stick around and you're willing to stick through this, you're going to come out the other side ahead. But you have to stick to the process and actually not just talk, but put into action some of the things that you've actually learned. And that's something that I'm sure we'll be doing as well. The other point he made was don't catch a falling knife. And I think the problem with a lot of people is that, and you know, there's some traders that I know that are included in this, is that they were trying to like catch the knife of Luna. It was falling. It was going 50, 40, 30, 10.
I must admit, I did do that a tiny bit on the way down as well. And thankfully I didn't do a great deal, but I did lose a little bit more on the way down.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with buying the dip. Like if you want to DCA, you've got stables on the side, you believe in a project, buying the dip can be a great strategy. However, when you're buying the dip on an extremely speculative altcoin at that point, which had its entire mechanism in question, then that's gambling money at that point. So anyone that was buying Luna on the way down, like I personally wasn't, because I knew until UST was back at peg, it was gambling money. And there was just too much short volume coming in to really have enough confidence that they could reinstate the peg. And another thing it did was it really put into the forefront, and especially today with the USDT also showing some weakness, the stablecoin risk just of this market, that algorithmic stablecoins aren't as ready as we thought they were. And even more so, maybe even the centralized stablecoins are a little more fragile than we thought they were.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into this, and this is a massive conversation probably for another time. And I've been meaning to I wanted to do a fair deep dive into in maybe the top 10 stable coins, and have a look at, you know, how they're all created, how they're how they're stabilized, what assets they've got, what backings they've got, what mechanisms they work off. But it's really something it's really a big chat for another time. But I'm definitely going to look into something and try and get something out there that goes in depth into which stable coins are better than others and why.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to cover that because I think it's very important now.
Super
I can already tell you off the bat that BUSD is one of my favorites. USDC is probably my second favorite.
Yeah.
Those two I like because they're
Yeah.
actually, they have a large portion that's fiat backed. USDC
Yep.
has DAI that's over collateralized, and also treasury bills, which are using to back the peg. And then obviously BUSD is fully backed.
Yep.
The next point I want to make is the too big to fail bias. This is,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Look, I called Solana too big to fail at one point,
Yeah.
and it hasn't failed yet.
This morning.
Yeah, this morning.
We were talking.
Yeah, but then I guess when we take a look at a project like Luna, a top 10 project with top VC backing that's worth 40 billion, it failed. So in crypto, there's no such thing as too big to fail anymore. I mean, this has made it evident, and it's one of the biggest lessons from this entire thing that we've got. Yes, maybe there are projects that are too big to fail in terms of there's going to be a lot of financial support underpinning them. And maybe with UST, it was just too much of a hard ask for an $18 billion stablecoin to be underpinned in a time of uncertainty. But in general, this bias is something we have to now be aware of, that even though a project has partnerships with AVAX, Lido, 3 Arrows Capital, Jump, etc., they can still fail. Yeah. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, to our point before, are the only two that haven't failed over a long period of time. And that's just something we haven't been aware of. Look,
and sadly, I reckon it's kind of, sorry, just quickly with that, it's double-edged, right? Because the sad part about it is the bigger something gets, the more it seems like it can't fail because it's so big, but also the harder it is to support if things go wrong. So that's where this has kind of been the perfect recipe for disaster. Is not only was the mechanism maybe not as well thought out as what everyone wanted, but it got so big that when it did implode, there wasn't enough to help holding it up because there was so much value in it from where it fell. And that's the biggest, that's the biggest problem. So sometimes it's kind of like, oh, wow, they've got all this VC backing, they've got all this money, they've got all this thing, the token's growing the value so much, but on the same time, that can also be the demise of it.
And let's also look into, I mean, kind of like a strategy that we can take out of that. And that's exactly this. You have to think about what your investing style is. And look, we're going to make videos on this in the future. I'm still tweaking my strategy a little bit. We are still compiling the best strategy that I think you guys should be following in this market. But until then, I can already tell you what my strategy is. I kind of follow this strategy here, and it's optimizing profits. It's having Bitcoin and Ethereum as the major part of my portfolio. And then it's investing in the L1 ecosystems, the altcoins when they're cheap, using the hype cycles from those coins to take heavy profits back into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stables. So you're achieving your final goal of creating more wealth. I personally view Bitcoin as creating wealth. You might view USD as creating wealth. It's whatever you want to stack. But at the end of the day, using these altcoins, using these L1s are a fantastic way to make profits as long as you're taking them. Because people that got into Luna at $10, $20, $30, like a lot of us did, I personally did, taking profits at 100, 120, that is amazing. That gave you an opportunity to increase your Bitcoin, your Ethereum stack, but make sure that you aren't overexposing yourself. And that's something that a lot of us did. And that is probably the major lesson that we can take out from all of this.
Yeah. I think, look, just with this, and I think it's very true, all of what's stated here, and I totally agree with it all, but it may not be right for you, and it may not be right for me. And I think above and beyond all of this, I think probably what the most important thing to remember is once you've got a plan, you just need to stick to it, because I had a plan a year ago and I didn't follow it. And as a result, I got wrecked with Luna along with everyone else in the last 2 days.
You have to stick to it.
If I had have stuck with my plan, what I'd planned to do in the first place, I would have come out so much better. Much better.
You have to stick to a plan. Just quickly, this is quite funny. I don't know how you didn't notice this earlier, but Kwon, before he started Luna, he actually was the co-founder of a previous failed stablecoin project called Basis Cash. So Luna was actually his second attempt at creating a successful project. He previously failed, and maybe I didn't do my due diligence here, but interesting that just got exposed. He got doxed by CoinDex.
Scary. It's scary. I think everyone just needs to kind of, like what we said in the beginning, is now's the time to focus, to reassess, to use it as a learning, to figure out how you can not fall a victim to this type of thing again. That's the most important thing, I reckon.
Someone asked what year it was. It was Ethereum in late 2020, kind of as DeFi started to boom. And if you want to do any swaps now, I know there's quite a lot of swapping happening at the moment as people look to rebalance their portfolios. Then 1inch, our official show sponsor, is the place you can do that. They're not on Luna, but they're across all the other chains if you want to.
If you want to, there's a quick way to get to that as well. If you want to get your UST on there to swap it into something like BUST and salvage what you can send it via Terra swap to the Binance Smart Chain network. That's the quickest way, and then use 1inch on the Binance Smart Chain network. That's the easiest way to get out of some UST right now. And they're still they're offering pretty much market value. So whatever the UST is.
They're a great because they're cheap. That's why
they aggregate as well, so they'll get you the best deal. So it's not a bad place to be. I mean, that's where I swapped the last of my UST last night.
All right, here's EllioTrades Theory. Now, I don't agree with everything in this theory, but now we have to look at what potentially is going to come out of these next few months. He said this is one of his theories, that UST was wave one. Fears of regulation start now, and I was speaking to you before that regulation is now at the forefront. We need regulation in crypto. This has just catapulted it into the limelight, and that's probably one of the main reasons the market is taking such a hit. People are fearful, and Ellio said that regulation fears could cause real capitulation. Look, I think, Ellio, we've just seen real capitulation. If that wasn't real capitulation, I can't imagine what capitulation would look like, but regulation fears are a genuine concern. And then he thinks crypto bottoms alongside stocks tumbling, US recession, inflation fading, Fed pivot up only. I mean, look, I'd love this scenario personally, because that would mean we'd get a bull market by the end of this year, and we get 3 to 4 months of accumulation at dirt cheap levels. So, Ellio, I hope you're right.
Yeah, so do I. I kind of agree with a lot of it, sadly, on the way through. The two things I don't agree with, like what you said, are whether or not we've got more capitulation to go. Because yesterday felt like real capitulation to me. It was the first time I had an empty stomach. And then also, I'm just hoping that it can be over in the 3 months as well, because that would be great. But I'm not holding my breath for that. I feel like it might be a bit longer.
I mean, a lot of these altcoins now are down like what you would consider pretty catastrophic levels. I mean, we can just pick anything here. Like, okay, DOT down 85% from highs. We can pick Solana, which is now down 83% from highs. And then if you want to go to your like gaming project,
what about Gala? Which is still not that risky. Or what about even Super Ellios?
92%. We go into Super Farm. We can see Super Farm's down 96%. So this is like this is it. This is bear market stuff.
Yeah. And the thing with all this as well, I think the tactic with all of this is, if you do believe in these things and no one's telling you to do anything here, and if you do, it's a real easy way to double your holdings. You know what I mean? Like you could spend $20, $30, $50, $100 and double what you were holding before right now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's insane.
And you did a tweet today. Do you want to read this one out? Because I think this is an important one.
Yeah, maintain distance, maintain space, maintain a clear focus. These tokens don't owe you anything. You can't use them in the real world. Ultimately, it's about creating wealth and not accumulating tokens. We all got lost. It's time to put our heads down and find our way back. So
this is the most interesting part. It's about creating wealth, not creating tokens, and
not accumulating. Yeah,
I think
we all thought we've all been in this headspace of accumulating tokens, and I've been so guilty of it. And I'm the first one to admit when I'm wrong. And I got sidetracked. I got lost.
Accumulating tokens is the way to go. I'm not going away from that, but this is the mindset that you have to make. It's accumulating tokens to create wealth. It's not accumulating tokens to accumulate tokens.
Yes.
It's not for the sake of accumulating tokens. It's for the sake of creating wealth. Yeah. So when you're holding a risky altcoin, you are likely holding it because you have the belief that it will be worth more in the future and you can generate wealth from it. Yep. So I think that a lot of people, as you said before, they got obsessed with the idea of like marrying your bags, essentially.
Married to your bags. You somehow you idolize it. You turn it into a possession, as opposed to just remembering that the reason you bought it in the first place was because you wanted it to go up in value.
Yes.
Up in value.
To go up in value.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are unfortunately in this, and not unfortunately, it's just a result of the crazy gains we've seen in crypto, but in the space purely to make money. They don't care about the tech. It's just about money, and that's okay. But if you're in this industry to make money, then you have to have a strategy which enables you to do so. And the strategy probably isn't accumulating tokens for the same of accumulating tokens and never taking profits, because then you're not achieving your final goal. Whereas if your final goal is to stack
have
as
100
much
Bitcoin for instance.
Then you should tweak your strategy towards it. So I think at the end of the day, you have to sit down and work out what is your strategy, what are your goals, and then reverse engineer that strategy to achieve them.
Start
and there's
start
no
at the
better
end
market.
and work backwards.
There's no better market to build than in a bear market.
Yeah.
This is the time to build income streams, build your strategy, build relationships in the space. Like, we are getting a once in a lifetime opportunity once again. We're getting the same opportunity the guys that in 2017 got, same opportunities the guys in 2013 got. And those opportunities are to build something special whilst the market is down, because trust me, whatever you do in the bear market, it basically comes out tenfold. Once we come out of the bear market. So this is the time to build. This is the time to put your head down, dedicate yourself, educate yourself. All of you that are here right now, I thank you for being here, and also thank yourself for being here, because you're taking the first step, step to building something special while the market is down. And I think the people that do are going to be rewarded. And I'm honestly working harder than ever right now.
Well, we've already started figuring out how we can reassess our plans, how we can restructure everything. And I make up all these kind of flow charts of how we do stuff and ways to kind of keep things working towards your plan. And we're working on that now, and we'll start getting those done as soon as we can. So you guys can see what we're doing. And if you agree with our point of view, then maybe you can take something from it as well.
Yeah. We're talking to analysts. We're talking to the biggest whales in the space. We're basically preparing the best possible strategy to help you guys in this bear market to set yourself up for generational wealth. And that is the goal now, but you have to help yourself as well. And the first step to doing that is educating yourself, building relationships. And I mean, I'm going to go a lot into more depth in future videos about the exact way that I would do that. But for now, it's just about getting the mindset right after what's been a terrible week. I can admit, we can all admit, it's been a horrible, horrible week, but it does spell opportunity, and I'm excited for it. I know you guys probably have a lot of questions. I know there's probably a lot of things you want to ask me, so I am going to open the floor up to those questions on my Instagram now. I'm going to go live over on Instagram. There's a link in the description. About 30 seconds after this stream ends, I'll be going over to Instagram, answering your questions live, because I think it's important as well to communicate with you guys directly. But thank you so much, Sounds Tricky, for coming on the show, and make sure you follow him as well.
Yeah, no worries, guys. And just look, maintain a clear focus. That's what we need to do right now. Don't get caught up. It's been hard for everyone. We're all in this together. Let's put our heads down and let's get through this.
Yeah, let's do it. And I will see you over on Instagram very soon. Peace out.